This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
They are coming to the top of the lane. Indianapolis takes the lead. She too battles back. Shared Belief in the black cap down the center now. In between those two, Conquest 2 steps running a huge one. 4 in a line with an 8th to go. Shared Belief on the outside having to call on all his talent to get there. She too and Conquest 2 steps stretching him every yard of the way. Shared Belief just won't hear of defeat. Shared Belief all heart gets up to win it about a head in the end.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Down the Stretch. I'm Mark Cassano. On this morning's first show of the new year, well, after having taken a week off, we've got some catching up to do. We will welcome in a couple of special guests, both with runners in this afternoon's Jerome here in New York. Mr. John Servis, who's got Pennsylvania Nursery winner NASA, as well as Mr. John Terranova, who has the speedy El Kabeir. We will also take a look at my ballot for the Eclipse Awards of 2014, the divisional champion. So all of that and much, much more if you stay with us for this, our January 3rd edition of the program, which is being sponsored by Gulfstream Park. Gulfstream Park, champions start here. Good morning once again. Happy New Year. I hope you all had a wonderful Christmas holiday. Hope that Santa treated you well. And we want to welcome the possibility of some first-time viewers to the program this morning. You know, with us changing and being on different cable systems, hopefully some of you folks on, Mid-Hudson Cable and Midtel Cable and Verizon Vios are joining us for the first time. We are here on Saturday mornings. We have been here for almost 23 years. We will not be here for another 23 years, but we're glad you tuned in this morning and hope you enjoy the show very, very much. All right, we begin. We've got a couple of stakes to look back at. Beginning with the December 20th Los Alamitos Futurity for 2-year-olds. And Mr. Z, making his 8th career start, is in front on the fence. Applying pressure outside is the recent maiden graduate Firing Line. And sitting the Garden Trip in 3rd, letting those two do battle, is the 3-5 favorite Dortmund. Dortmund was the lowest individually priced horse in Pool 1 of the Derby Futures and was coming off a big win in a Churchill entry-level allowance race in last. At this point, with the trip he was getting, it was pretty much expected that Dortmund would run past the dueling leaders and win for fun. Well, that wasn't exactly the case. With Mr. Z wanting to lug out badly in the lane, despite Mike Smith pulling hard on the left rein, and in spite of the fact that Firing Line was caught in between rivals, those two put up quite a fight before succumbing to the heavy favorite in the final few strides. Dortmund would win here by a head over Firing Line, with Mr. Z a nose back in 3rd. Now, considering the trips each horse got, I came away pretty impressed with Firing Line, who jumped from a maiden win to this stakes. Now, Dortmund is a big, good-looking son of Big Brown, who has a license to be a good one, but I think Firing Line should have also gotten a great deal out of this effort, and I look for that Simon Callahan trainee to be quite interesting in the early part of 2015. Now, the other stakes we're going to take a look back at was the Malibu opening day at Santa Anita, the day after Christmas. Shared Belief, number 8, whose only career defeat came in the controversial Breeders' Cup Classic, is the 1-2 favorite in here. Could a big victory by Shared Belief in the Malibu catapult him back into the race for champion 3-year-old male as well as Horse of the Year? Well, Shared Belief will get up to win the Malibu by a neck, but I don't think it was done in a manner which will sway a lot of Eclipse voters. He's going to outfinish Conquest 2-Step a 72-1 shot, a colt who had won only twice previously during his career. So, while it was a nice effort by Shared Belief, I just don't think it was enough for him to take votes away from either California Chrome or Bayern, his two main rivals for champion 3-year-old. Now, pretty exciting possibility coming out of the Malibu. Jerry Hollendorfer, the trainer of Shared Belief, said the February 7th San Antonio likely to be the next start for Shared Belief. That race is also being seriously considered by the connections of both Bayern and California Chrome. Now, if that all happens, obviously the San Antonio would be a wonderful early season stakes. All right, quite a bit of news to catch up on. The New York Racing Association has enhanced the Travers Day card for 2015 by adding stakes and money. In addition to the Midsummer Derby, 5 other Grade 1 stakes and a Grade 2 will be contested on August 29th. The Sword Dancer, now worth $1 million. The Personal Ensign at $750,000. The Forgo at $700,000. The Ballerina at $600,000. And the $500,000 King's Bishop are the other Grade 1s. The $400,000 Boston Spa is the Grade 2 on this year's Travers Day card. Now, NYRA also announced new workout requirements in order for horses to start. A horse will have to have a certain number of officially recorded works, and they're going to have to be, in relation to the day the horse is going to be racing. They're going to have had a work relatively soon leading into that race. Recently, a horse by the name of Wicked Iron, who I believe hadn't raced in 2 years and had only one recorded workout, ran and tragically died. So the New York Racing Association announcing a new set of workout requirements, and that sounds like a very positive thing to me. And Carey's Clown, who won numerous New York turf stakes, has died at the age of 25. Carey's Clown died from complications of colic at Old Friends. And High Chaparral, who won 2 editions of the Breeders' Cup Turf, including the thrilling Dead Heat with Johar back in 2003, has also died. High Chaparral, who went 10 for 13 during his brilliant career, was euthanized due to complications from colic surgery. And California Chrome, who figures to be a major player in the upcoming Eclipse Awards, has won the 2014 Secretariat Vox Populi Award. The award is basically for the most popular horse of the year. Now, in a couple of weeks, we'll see if California Chrome wins the actual Horse of the Year title. And Serena Song, who retired from racing in 1996, has been retired from breeding. Serena Song just turned 23. The champion 3-year-old filly of 1995, Serena Song produced 10 winners from only 12 foals to race, including Grade 1 winner Sophisticat. Serena Song lost her pregnancy in the fall of last year, and the decision was then made to pension her. And Atreides, a talented colt who is unbeaten at Gulfstream Park, but winless in one start on the road, will be sidelined due to continuing ankle problems. Trainer Marty Wolfson said Atreides, who was originally scheduled to run in next Saturday's Hal's Hope at Gulfstream, will be out of training for about 60 days. And congratulations to jockey Alex Solis. The 50-year-old scored career victory number 5,000 on Thursday when he rode Lutine Bell to an upset in the Blue Norther Stakes at Santa Anita. Solis, who joined us on the program last August, just a day after being inducted into the Hall of Fame, became only 29th North American rider to reach the 5,000 win plateau. And looking for something enjoyable, different, and worthwhile to do today? What about attending the open house at Old Friends Cabin Creek in Greenfield Center? Today from noon until 3. There will be tours of the facility. You will be able to meet the horses. My wife's favorite is Roaring Lion, who they call Leo. When we visited, she wanted to bring him home. I had to put the kibosh on that. For more information on today's open house, call them at 518-698-2377. Couple of other things. The year-end leaders in New York for 2014 have been announced, and these are based on the most number of victories. The leading jockey in New York last year, Rod Ortiz, first-time winner with 278 victories. You know, this young man has really come of age. I mean, very, very quickly. When we went over the Saratoga meet results, I remember talking about just a couple of years ago, Arad had only a handful of victories there, but had a wonderful Saratoga. So congratulations to Arad. His brother Jose finished second, and Cornelio Velasquez finished third. The leading trainer in New York for the third year in a row, David Jacobson, with 133 victories. It was very close for second. Todd Pletcher edging Rudy Rodriguez and Chad Brown, and the leading owner in New York last year by number of victories, Michael Dubb with 75. The North American leaders for 2014, now these are based on money won. The leading trainer from last year, Todd Pletcher, with about $22.4 million in earnings. Javier Castellano, the leading rider, with about $25 million in earnings. Russell Bays led all riders, I believe, for the 13th time in number of victories with 324. And the leading owners, Ken and Sarah Ramsey, having won about $10.5 million. Mr. Jordan, an unbeaten South Florida horse. He's only raced 3 times, but he's never been beaten. Freddie Plesa underwent surgery recently. He's expected to make a full recovery. Plesa said Mr. Jordan will be out of training for about a month and a half or 2 months. Former New York Governor Mario Cuomo passed away on Thursday at the age of 82, and I just wanted to tell you kind of a funny story. Back in 1992 or 1993, either the first or second year we were on the air, my former partner Mike Veach and I were discussing on the program racing in New York and, you know, and how politics is involved in some of the decision-making process. And when I got home that day, my wife informed me that I had a phone call. And it was Governor Mario Cuomo who had called. So I asked her if she had gotten a number for him, and she said that she was so taken aback, was so surprised by the phone call that she forgot to get a phone number. I never got a chance. I can tell you by a personal, it's very difficult to get a hold of the governor of New York on a Saturday. I never got the chance to talk to the late Governor Mario Cuomo. Our condolences go out to his family. And finally, Jack Wilson, who was a chart caller for Daily Racing Form and a field supervisor for DRF, died recently at the age of 80. When I first began covering racing in 1983, Jack Wilson was the chart caller in New York. Jack was very, very talented in what he did and a very, very nice man. And our condolences go out to his family and friends. And we are up to our first break on this January 3rd edition of the program. Thank you so much for having joined us. When we return, Mr. John Servis. As we go to the break, the December 26th La Brea Grade 1 restricted to 3-year-old fillies. The 7 to 10 favorite, number 1 Terrace, who had romped at Keeneland in her last start, then was sold for $2.35 million at the Keeneland Fall sale. So we will take a look at the La Brea to the break. Back with John Servis right after these messages.
Jojo Warrior. And away they go to a good beginning. Along the inside, Zeal is fast and going for the lead. Here's Terrace at the rail. A tad slow to get going was Terrace, but very fast now, and Terrace will kick all the way through to lead them. Stone-tastic is the grey right there in third. Amaranth the close-up fourth. On the far side is Jojo Warrior, 5 off the leaders. Couldn't be going much quicker for the distance out here. Then back to More Complexity down at the rail alongside Sam's Sister. They followed by Ramona's Wildcat, who's giving them 7-length start. And last of all, Thank You, Mary Lou. Less than a half mile to go, and Terrace has the lead, and Terrace kicking on for home full bore. Uziel is right there in the second spot, 2 lengths back to Stone-tastic in third. Sam's Sister in the pink colours, fourth. More Complexity down at the rail on the far side, Ramona's Wildcat, and then comes Thank You, Mary Lou. They're at the top of the lane, and Terrace is shaking loose now. Terrace takes the advantage, clearly kicks away to lead by 4, still being hand-ridden. Terrace is well clear in the La Brea down the centre of the track. Sam's Sister coming with a late run, and yes, Thank You, Mary Lou, now bursting on the scene late. But it's Terrace still clear. Terrace hanging on, starting to get a little weary. Sam's Sister is chasing on the outside. Terrace and Sam's Sister. Sam's Sister got her. Sam's Sister up to win the La Brea. Terrace was second. Thank You, Mary Lou finished third, and then Ramona's Wildcat.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
There's nothing like the thrill and excitement of horse racing. And now, the new home for all the best racing and all the top tracks is OTB TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 1250, delivering each day the best racing across the country and around the world, whether it's Saratoga or Belmont here in New York, Florida's Gulfstream Park, or California's Del Mar and Santa Anita race courses. No other network brings you the grandeur of horse racing like OTB TV on Time Warner Cable Channel 1250.
Funding your Capital OTB bet account is as easy as 1, 2, 3. 1. Easy Money. Clearly the fastest and easiest method of depositing funds into your account. Make deposits or withdrawals in just minutes. 2. Green Dot Money Pack. Gives you instant access to your funds. Green Dot Money Packs are available at thousands of retailers nationwide. And 3. MasterCard Visa. Simply click on the link from the funding page, enter your account information, and fund your account. CapitalOTBBet.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano, and Sam's Sister for Jerry Hollendorfer and Elvis Trujillo, who is making a name for himself in Southern California by a half length over Terrace to upset the La Brea. Terrace, who broke just a tad slow, never relaxed in front. She came out of the race with a non-displaced condylar fracture to her right front ankle and will be sidelined for much of the first half of this year. Our first guest this morning, exactly 11 years ago to the day, January 3rd, 2004, he joined us on the program to discuss his Pennsylvania Nursery winner, a then relatively unknown colt by the name of Smarty Jones. He rejoins us this morning to discuss his newest Pennsylvania Nursery winner, NASA, joining us live via telephone, Mr. John Servis. John, welcome back to Down the Stretch.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you very much.
Happy New Year and happy 11th anniversary.
Happy New Year to you.
All right, let's talk NASA. And as our audience watches him break his maiden in his second start back on September 27th at Laurel, for our audience, NASA is number 6 in here. John, talk about the way he had trained up to his early races.
Well, he's been very forward from the beginning. He's always trained very well. His first race was probably just a little too short for him, and it took him a while to level off. And he came running and ran a good second. And that was the reason we took him to Laurel, to get the 7 furlongs, because we just couldn't get a longer race to go at Parks for him. And he responded well to it.
Yeah, that was going to be my question, because it's a little bit unusual for you to ship, and here he is winning at Laurel, but it was the fact that the race was 7/8.
Yes, and that was the only reason. You know, you hate to take a PA bred somewhere else to break his maiden, you know, with the bonus program and everything, but we just couldn't get anything to go any farther distance.
John, in his debut at Parks, which was at 5/8 of a mile, and he ran, finished the distance second that day, he did not race with Lasix, but has since gone on it for his 3 subsequent starts. Talk about that.
Well, we scoped him after the race, and he was a little dirty, and he had some blood in there. And, you know, we went ahead and put him on. I generally don't do that with 2-year-olds until they show me they need it. And, you know, unfortunately he did.
John, in a moment, we're going to have a shot of NASA on the screen for our audience. Take a moment to describe for our audience, what is NASA like physically, and what's he like mentally?
Mentally, he's great. Mentally, he's like an old horse. You know, he does everything right. He behaves. He's very forward. He's very aggressive. Physically, that's probably my main concern. He's not a big horse. He doesn't have a lot of scope to him, and you know, I don't know if he is good enough. I don't know if he'll be able to handle the rigors of the Kentucky Derby campaign.
Now, he is a son of Smarty Jones. He won the Pennsylvania Nursery just like his dad did, owned by Someday Farm. The inevitable question, are there any similarities between NASA and when Smarty was early in his career?
Not a lot, really. You know, Smarty was very aggressive, very hard to train. You know, he just got into everything, wanted to go full bore, where NASA's complete opposite. NASA's got a great mind on him. He goes out there and relaxes and behaves himself and just gallops around there like an old horse. You know, neither one of them are very big, but Smarty had a lot more scope to him than NASA does. And like I said, that's the only concern I really have about NASA.
I remember it like it was yesterday, not 11 years ago, when we had you on the show and we talked about Smarty in the very early stages of his career. You said to us that the light bulb hadn't come on for him yet. He was just doing it on raw ability. Obviously, the light bulb went on very brightly later on for him. But with NASA, has the light bulb gone on at this point?
Definitely not. Definitely not. He, you know, his last race, he was aggressive. He got into it early. The race before, he got a little antsy in the gate. He hadn't run in a while, and he got a little antsy in the gate. Didn't break sharp, and got behind horses and started getting that dirt in his face. And he really got to jumping up and down. And you know, when he finally got out from behind horses, the last 1/8 of a mile, he made a pretty nice run. But you could tell that he hasn't put it all together.
Well, after that somewhat disappointing third in a restricted stakes 2-back, NASA went on to the Pennsylvania Nursery. For our audience, here it is. He is number 5, run over a very wet track. John, talk about this effort, if you would.
Well, you know, we had schooled him in the gate a couple times after the restricted race, and he was perfect at the gate. He was perfect in the paddock, broke sharp, and pretty much held the rest of the horses at bay, you know, throughout the race. First time in the slop, and he handled it very well. And he, you know, unlike Smarty, which was a big question mark when we ran up there early in the year in the Count Fleet, whether he would handle the 2 turns or not, NASA seems like he acts like he's begging for 2 turns. He seems like the farther he goes, the better he'll be.
Yeah, that's interesting, John. It brings me to my next question. In watching the video of NASA's 4 races, it appears when he goes longer and the early fractions, you know, are a little bit slower, he can get into that rhythm on or near the lead, where when he ran in the shorter races, they kind of ran him off his feet a little bit early on.
Well, certainly the first race. You know, the first race, they ran away from him, and he tried to make up ground, and I think a pretty decent horse won the race. But, you know, the other restricted race where he was third, I think if he breaks sharper and he'd have been closer and wouldn't have been as green, I think he'd have been very competitive.
All right, how's he been training coming into this afternoon's Jerome?
Oh, he's been training great. Really well, really well.
You've got speed outside of you in the horse to beat in El Kabeir. Any particular strategy with Kendrick Carmouche that you guys are going to employ?
You know, I'm going to pretty much leave it up to Kendrick. You know, Kendrick's very excited about the horse. He's got a lot of confidence in him. And, you know, I think if he breaks running, I certainly don't want to get into a speed duel. But if he breaks running, he'll be forward in the race and hopefully sit just off of El Kabeir if he can get in front of us and get over. If he can't, then maybe we can get away to the lead.
All right, a couple of other quick things before we let you go. In tomorrow's 4th race at Gulfstream Park, you are going to be running Dukin with Dale, a son of Indian Charlie. So whoever named this horse has a wonderful sense of humor. What can you tell us about Dukin with Dale?
Well, first of all, I'm going to take the credit for that. He's a very talented horse. He's a little tough to train. You know, mentally he's got some issues that you know, I don't know how long he's going to remain intact as a full colt because of it. But he has a lot of talent,
And finally, please update us on your, well, now 4-year-old filly, Joint Return, who was a fine second in the Alabama here at Saratoga last summer. What's going on with Joint Return?
Well, we ran her in the cotillion after a pretty hard campaign throughout the year, and she didn't run her race. She came out of it fine. We just elected we thought it was a good time to give her a little bit of a breather. And we sent her to Caroline Webster's in Ocala and gave her 60 days off. And she is now at Palm Meadows, probably about a week to 2 weeks away from her first breeze.
Well, John, as always, we appreciate your time. It was very nice to have you back this morning, exactly 11 years ago to the day after talking about Smarty. We wish you all the best with NASA later this afternoon in the Jerome.
Mark, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. John Servis, ladies and gentlemen, and that's a fascinating edition of the Jerome later this afternoon at Aqueduct. And we are up to our next break. When we return, Mr. John Terranova will join us as we go to the break, the McKnight from Gulfstream, and the 2-to-1 favorite, number 6, Slumber. So we will take a look at the Marathon McKnight to the break. Back with John Terranova right after these messages.
For the start. They're racing in the McKnight handicap. Rapscallion is out fast and goes out to take the lead. Midnight Aria. There's Mergano on the far outside going up, and these three are out the best. Then Divine Oath and Fixador and St. Albans Boy on the inside. Behind them comes Royal Blessing as they race for the first turn. Then it's North Slope, who's about 7 lengths off the lead in the early stages here. Unitarian's going to save ground into the turn inside of Dashing David. And they're being followed by Slumber, and right alongside of Slumber's Manchurian High. And Avi's Quality was just a beat slow out of the gate, trails the field 14 lengths off the lead at 25 and 2 first quarter. Now they're into the stretch for the first time. Rapscallion is the leader. Margano second to the outside, and Fixador is just in behind them, running in third by 2. After that comes Midnight Aria in fourth. St. Albans Boy is down on the inside, and Divine Oath is right alongside, about 6 lengths off the lead with 1 lap to go. And then it's Royal Blessing in behind them. Unitarian and North Sloper together. They're 8 lengths off the lead and 2 lengths ahead of Slumber after a 51 flat half mile. And they're being followed by Dashing David on the outside, who's about 14 lengths behind at this stage of the race into the next turn. Manchurian High and Avies Quality at the back of the field. So it's been Rapscallion all the way so far. Quick onto the gate under Jose Valdivia Jr., and it's a length and a half lead onto the backstretch for Rapscallion with Margano in pursuit in second. And Fixador is running in third on the inside. Midnight Aria follows in fourth. St. Albans Boy hard held at this stage, 5 lengths off the lead, just racing inside of Divine Oath up the backstretch. Unitarian's been guided to the far outside for a clear run, 6 lengths off the lead. Slumber is right alongside of him, and now they tighten up, and Slumber's only 5 lengths behind. And then it's North Slope on the outside of Royal Blessing, Manchurian High, Avies Quality, and Dashing David. And now only 9 lengths separates the whole field, and Margano is up alongside of Rapscallion now, and now Divine Oath makes a move 3 wide. Unitarian's out there 4 deep. Fixador is next. Slumber's only 3 lengths behind. North Slope on the outside. St. Albans Boy's got no place to go, and they're coming to the top of the stretch. Divine Oath makes a move for the lead as they turn for home. It's Divine Oath. Margano to the inside. These two matching strides. Fixador is up into third, running a big one. Then Unitarian and Slumber, but it is Divine Oath. Divine Oath and Javier Castellano have the lead close to home. Fixador is next on the outside and closing the gap. Divine Oath, Fixador, Divine Oath holds on in McKnight over Fixador. And then it was Manchurian High, followed by Unitarian and Margano.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Hey race fans, head down to the all-new Clubhouse Racebook and get in the game. With live horse racing on more than 250 flat-screen TVs, state-of-the-art wagering terminals, fantastic food and drinks, an amazing Vegas-style atmosphere with seating for nearly 900 of your closest friends. Conveniently located at 711 Central Avenue, right off Exit 5 of I-90 in Albany, the Clubhouse Racebook is the better choice.
Face it, most horse racing websites are just too much clutter, too much to navigate through. Next time, log on to capitalotb.com. Our newly designed website is easier than ever to use, with all the information the professional horse player needs. capitalotb.com.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Asano. My thanks to John Servis once again for having joined us. And Divine Oath for Todd and Javier by a half length over 47 to 1 shot. Fixador to capture the McKnight. Divine Oath, the only 3-year-old in the McKnight field. Our final guest this morning appears to have the one to beat in this afternoon's Jerome in the speedy and talented El Kabeir. We welcome back to Down the Stretch Mr. John Terranova. John Marcasano welcoming you back to the show.
Good morning, Mark.
Nice to have you, John. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year to you.
All right, let's talk El Kabeir. As our audience watches him break his maiden impressively late in the Saratoga meet, and for our audience, he is number 5 in here. John, I want to discuss his next 2 races with you. After this maiden breaker, you drew the rail in the Champagne. It came up a sloppy track. He was 4th, beaten nearly 18. What happened that day?
You know, we're not quite sure. I mean, we're just kind of looking at it as a real misfire. I mean, he didn't break well from the inside. That part of the racetrack, you know, I think throughout most of the meet was not the place to be. A lot of slop coming back at him for the first time, and you know, it's just he didn't show up that day for whatever reason. The conditions were very bad, and you know, obviously he's still a baby. He's a young colt, immature, still learning about him. We know he's ultra talented, but it just took away from anything that he might have been able to show that day. The circumstances, I think, surrounding the conditions and whatnot. So we just drew a line through it.
Following the Champagne, he came back to open a clear early lead in the Nashua, running with blinkers. He weakened to finish a distant second in the mud. Let's talk first about the blinkers. Why'd you go to blinkers that day?
Well, we thought, maybe part of it in the champagne. I think we read a little bit too much into the champagne, and we tried them on. I'm just thinking, maybe just with some of the kickback and being down inside, maybe caught in a tight spot he might not have liked. So we trained him in blinkers. He breathed fantastic, as he always has. So, we thought maybe we'd try him, and this might be something he may need going forward. Obviously, I think he got away from Irad a little bit that second quarter, and they just was a little too keen. Never really switched off and relaxed for him on the front end. It was a very tiring racetrack that day, very deep and drying out, and they were running into quite a headwind that day at Aqueduct. So I think in combination with everything, and it just was a little bit too, got him a little bit too much on the bridle early, and where we were trying to get him to relax. He's got plenty of natural speed, as we know. And I think we just we got a little too keen that day, and we decided, we'll just take those back off and go back to where we were, and not read so much into the champagne.
In a moment, we're going to have a shot of El Kabeir on the screen. John, would you take a moment to describe him for our audience physically, and what's he like to work with mentally?
Well, he's not a big horse. I mean, he's probably average size, but he's built very well. A very nicely balanced horse, very sound, very healthy. He moves. He's a great mover, very efficient. Loves to train. I mean, he can't wait to get to the racetrack every day, and he's been like that since we've had him. A little bit of high energy, at first when he came in, as a lot of these youngsters are, and I think he's focused a lot more now. He's matured, and obviously the more stress we put on him and the more races he's had now, I think he's really responded in a positive way to them. He's gotten bigger, more filled out, stronger. Mentally, he seems to know a lot more about what he wants to do right now, and everything seems to be going in the right direction. So we could be happier with him at the moment.
He most recently ran on November 29th in the Kentucky Jockey Club at Churchill. And for our audience, as they take a look at it, he is number 5 in here. John, you could have stayed home and run in the Remsen. Why'd you decide to go to Churchill?
Well, it was a group decision between the Zayat family and ourselves. We just we had a couple of races in mind. We thought maybe the mile and an 8 might be a little bit of a stretch. We wanted to see, number one, how he'd handle 2 turns, if that was going to be, where we were going to start off the year, or cutting back to a shorter distance and keeping him at 1 turn. We also wanted to see how he'd shift and handle traveling for the first time. And, obviously it doesn't hurt to have a race over Churchill Downs if we're hoping to be there someday down the road. So, all those kind of hurdles we kind of threw at him. Given that at the same time, we went in a little bit because he was a bit tired out of the Nashua. He really didn't come back, his energy really didn't get back full strength, I'd say, for a couple of weeks afterwards. So I did skip 1 breeze with him, and I waited an extra week to breeze him back, and we really only gave him 1 breeze, 1 solid work between the Nashua and the Jockey Club. And, we went in there knowing that, maybe with the shift and everything and stretching out, he's maybe a little bit short here, but, we know he's very talented, so, we're just looking for a good, solid effort to see how he handles the 2 turns and the shift and everything, and see if that's going to be something that we're going to stick with, and obviously answer those questions. And, being the fact that we thought we weren't going in maybe fully franked for that race, and he still was able to pull it off and fight off everybody, was even more impressive to us.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting that you brought that up with the workout pattern. So all in all, I assume you thought quite a bit of his effort in the Kentucky Jockey Club.
It meant, yeah, it was a lot knowing the background and what was going on leading up to the race. It was a lot more impressive to us than it may have appeared.
Now, Calvin Burrell rode him for the first time in the Kentucky Jockey Club. What did he have to say to you after the race?
Oh, he was just thrilled. He was so appreciative to ride him, and I was appreciative to ride Calvin. I mean, he's, I don't think I've ever really gotten a chance to hook up with Calvin Burrell before, but watched him and been a big fan of him, so many years. So, You know, nobody better at Churchill, as we all know, than Calvin. You usually can't go wrong when you put him on one. And we were happy he was able to, you know, get him to relax and switch off, and they just connected, you know, right from the start. You know, that was the only time he'd been on him, and you know, obviously it worked out to a T.
Calvin was named to ride him in this afternoon's Jerome, but he has had a death in the family, and you've had to find a replacement. Who's going to ride El Kabeir?
We're going to go with CC Lopez.
John, is El Kabeir the type of horse that, you know, it concerns you to have to ride somebody on him for the first time, idiosyncrasies, any concerns at all?
You know, I don't think so. You know, a rider like CC Lopez, I mean, he's obviously an experienced journeyman where he's been in all types of situations to this point and ridden all types of horses. I think he's already gone back and watched his prior races, so he kind of knows what to expect. And you know, hopefully, I think the way he's trained and how he's done since coming out of the Kentucky race has been fantastic. So I think I've got him the horse ready, and just hopefully we have a bit of racing left and break clean. And you know, he's got a good post outside, so you know, he's got the you know, the good fortune of hopefully being able to see what's going on inside of him. But you know, we've got a fast colt, a talented colt, so we're not looking at getting in his way.
He's had 5 weeks from the Kentucky Jockey Club to the Jerome. Would it be fair to say that he's better prepared for this afternoon's Jerome from a training standpoint than he was going into the Kentucky Jockey Club?
From what I'm seeing in the mornings and what our barn, you know, has been telling us, and our rider, Simon Harris, I think that is absolutely the case.
John, what's your biggest concern? We know that he's a very talented colt, but at this point, might distance limitations, might teaching him to relax be some of your bigger concerns for El Kabeir?
I mean, I think with any of the fast 3-year-olds, 2-year-olds coming free, you know, you're just not sure, especially when they've got that type of speed, how far they could carry it. You know, he's a horse, obviously, early on, he had a lot of high energy and might not have been focused in the right direction. And I think as we've raced and as he's, you know, gotten a little bit more experience, he seems to have gotten stronger. He's trained a lot more focused in the morning. So, you know, we're hoping that carries on for the afternoons and that mental maturity, you know, comes right along with that physical maturity. You know, the talent is there as far as he's able to use his assets. You know, at what distance will be his optimum, you know, it's yet to be seen. But, you know, we couldn't be more pleased with how he's developed race to race so far.
You've got a couple of maiden runners over the next 2 days here in New York. Let's get some quick thoughts. First, Instructor Kunu, who was second behind NASA most recently in the Pennsylvania Derby, starts in today's 6th. What can you tell us about Instructor Kunu?
You know, we like him a lot. We always thought highly of him. Talented colt. I don't know. I was just debating whether to cut him back off the Pennsylvania Nursery, whether to. He ran a good second going 7/8 to NASA that day, and really steadily improved. He's a horse that's improved a lot, and I was kind of debating whether I stretched him out to 2 turns right now or cut him back to 3/4. And we thought one more sprint. You know, he's improved with each start, so hopefully this will be his day to break his maiden and go on. But he's trained fantastic. He's full of energy, feeling really good. So he's a horse I think will stretch out down the road. We just decided he's fast enough. He's had some experience over some of these, so hopefully it pays off and he'll show up today and be able to break his maiden. But we're very we think he's a nice colt that's come along and showing a lot of steady improvement. So we're hoping to continue to go forward today.
And finally, in Sunday's 9th race, you're going to be running the second-time starter, Smart Alex.
She's another filly. You know, she started out a little immature, kind of behind for a while, and she's really come on lately. Her first race I was impressed with. I thought, you know, she may need the race going out first time. We weren't so sure how she'd fit in at this point with some of the, you know, the better maidens here in New York. But I think she showed up and ran a very good race. So she's trained on really well since. She had a real nice breeze the other day and leading up to this. So we're looking forward. I think she drew a good post. So another one, same type of thing. I think we're going to see a lot of steady improvement from her. May not be as much as we may need. It looks like Kieran might have a nice one drawn on the rail there, a nice firster, it looks like, by the way it's worked, but as they usually do, most of theirs. But but I mean, you never know what you're going to find. But she's done really well, so we could be happy with her as well. So we're just looking for her to steadily improve, and I think she's going to be able to run at that higher level in New York going forward, from what I've seen.
John, as always, we appreciate your time. Thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. Happy New Year, and all the best with El Kabeir later on in the Jerome.
No, thanks so much, Mark. Anytime.
Thank you, John. John Terranova, ladies and gentlemen, and we are up to our final break. When we return, a look at my Eclipse ballot. As we go to the break, the La Prévoyante at Gulfstream, named for the champion 2-year-old filly of 1972, the same year Secretariat was a 2-year-old. The favorite in this year's La Prévoyante, number 12 Irish Mission, at 2-1. So we'll take a look at the grassy La Prévoyante to the break. Back with a look at my Eclipse ballot right after these messages.
They're all in line. They're racing in the La Prévoyante. And there goes Bohemian Dance up to grab the lead right away. Clearbrook came out running in second to the inside. These two will set the pace with Premium just outside of them. And on the far outside, Modern Stone is going up and after the lead too. And Modern Stone pulls her way up into second as the field races for the first turn. Then it's Irish Mission who settles into stride 3 wide back there in fifth. She's 4 lengths behind at this stage. And then it's Photo Call, followed by Old Alliance to the outside. Break of another 2 to Julie's Love, who's a little bit hard to handle there. Passed by Maximova to the inside. After that comes K Dancer. And then it's Anja Green, who's right there to the outside of horses as they come into the stretch for the first time. Tabreed is down toward the inside. And then it's Honey Lake and Always Kitten. The pace is not fast. It's 25-second flat opening quarter mile as they come through the stretch for the first time. And Bohemian Dance leads the way at a leisurely tempo. The lead is 3/4 of a length over Modern Stone in second. Premium is third to the outside, and they've really slowed it down now. 52-4 for the first half mile. Then it's Clearbrook, followed by Irish Mission, who's wide on both turns so far, and out there 4 deep into the course is Irish Mission. She's only 3 lengths off the lead, though, as they continue to chase Bohemian Dance to the backstretch. Modern Stone is second. Premium to the outside. Clearbrook rides the rail. Irish Mission 3 lengths off the lead, and in behind them comes Photo Call, then Old Alliance. Maximova is down on the inside with 5 lengths to make up, and then comes Key Dancer, and now an early move from Always Kitten, who's going by horses on the far outside. Right there, too, is Anja Green. They're followed by Julie's Love and Tabreed and Honey Lake at the back of the field. The pace continues to slow. 1:19-3 for the first 3 quarters. The mile in 1:46-2. It's just been an easy race so far for front-running Bohemian Dance, who heads into the far turn, and now the pace quickens noticeably. Bohemian Dance, the leader. Premium on the attack on the outside, then Modern Stone. Irish Mission has been outside of horses the whole way so far. Photo Call is right there in the mix. Always Kitten is looping up with a 5-wide run on the far outside, and they're into the stretch, and here comes Always Kitten on the far outside. Bohemian Dance is down toward the rail. Irish Mission now splits horses and makes a run, and Irish Mission has taken the lead. Always Kitten running with her, and storming through on the inside late is Photo Call, and on the far outside Tabreed, but it's Irish Mission to win. Over Tabreed, Photo Call, and our fourth was Always Kitten.
This is the OTB Television Network, a service of Capital District Off-Track Betting.
Missed one of our TV shows? No worries. Now you can catch all your favorite programs online. Simply log on to CapitalOTB.com and click on the YouTube link at the bottom of the homepage. And look for our new podcast coming soon. CapitalOTB.com. Log on today.
Welcome back to Down the Stretch, everyone. I'm Mark Cassano. My thanks to John Terranova once again for having joined us. An Irish mission for Christophe Clement and Johnny V, despite a wide trip, wins the La Prévoyante by 3/4 over stablemate Tabreed. All right, my Eclipse ballot. I have been doing this for many years, and like many voters, take it very, very seriously. I sat down on New Year's Day and completed the ballot online. We vote for the top 3 in each category, but only our number 1 choice counts as far as winning an Eclipse. The second and third place votes really determine finalists only. Only the top choice matters as far as winning an Eclipse. We're going to take a look at the equine categories as well as a couple of human categories, beginning with champion steeplechaser. I voted for Demonstrative, who won a trio of grade 1s, including the New York Turf Riders Cup here at Saratoga. I gave him the edge over Divine Fortune in what appears to be a 2-horse race. The champion 2-year-olds, I voted for American Pharaoh as the champion male, winner of the Del Mar Futurity as a maiden, as well as the front runner. I gave him the edge over Breeders' Cup juvenile hero Texas Red. As far as the filly, I voted for Take Charge Brandy, and as I said before, if someone had told me on the morning of November 1st that I would be voting for Take Charge Brandy as a champion, I absolutely would not have believed it. She won the juvenile fillies at 61-1, followed by game victories in the Delta Princess and the Starlet. I made her my selection over potential turf star Lady Eli. Now for the 3-year-olds. One of these selections was an absolute gimme, while the other was quite difficult, and I'm pretty sure you'll know which was which. California Chrome, by virtue of his victories in the Derby and the Preakness, and by being quite consistent throughout the year, minus the Pennsylvania Derby, got the slight edge over Bayern, who beat him in 2 of their 3 meetings. You know, but I look at every race, and I do penalize horses to some degree for poor efforts. And Bayern was absolutely dreadful in both the Preakness and the Travers. You know, he wasn't so good in the Arkansas Derby either. He was the best 3-year-old at the very end of 2014, but he wasn't throughout the year. So California Chrome, in a close decision over Bayern, I voted for Shared Belief 3rd. This should give you a pretty good idea of how strong the 3-year-old male division was. Tonalist, who captured the Belmont Stakes in the Jockey Club Gold Cup, wasn't in my top 3. The sophomore filly champ was untappable in a rout. I thought her division was very weak, but I thought she was very special. 6 for 7, never lost to fillies, captured the Breeders' Cup Distaff despite a wide, less than ideal trip. The only question with untappable, will she be a unanimous selection? Next set of categories are for older male and older female. Now, there's been a debate about what these categories really mean. I voted for a long time, and I'm extremely confident in saying, due in part to a conversation I had many years ago with the late Joe Hirsch, that these categories are supposed to be for older horses who performed well on the main track. You know, it used to be strictly dirt, but then synthetic came into the picture. You know, modern day voters have been quick to select turf horses in this category, and I firmly believe that is wrong. There's already a category for strictly turf horses. You know, they really shouldn't be considered in this category, but they've won each of the past 3 years. Did turf horses ever win this category in years gone by? No. Only John Henry in 1981 won this category along with the turf division, but that year John Henry won the Big Cap and the Jockey Club Gold Cup, so he had a right to be voted champion older male. So needless to say, I again did not consider any strictly turf horse for this award. I chose Palace Malice as champion older male and Closed Hatches as champion older female. Really, she kind of limped into this award, but there weren't very many strong candidates. Now the turf stars. I mentioned on this show of October 18th, when it was announced that Wise Dan would miss the Breeders' Cup, I stated on that show that if either Main Sequence or Hardest Core won the Breeders' Cup Turf, there was no way I could vote for Wise Dan. and a lot of people thought, I kind of had lost it at that point. Well, I love Wise Dan, but I had no trouble voting for Main Sequence, 4 for 4, all grade 1s, culminating with a big win in the Breeders' Cup Turf, versus a world-class horse in Flintshire. The female turf champ, my vote went today at the Spa. I don't know whether to call this division relatively weak or maybe very contentious. The Breeders' Cup Filly and Mare Turf was probably going to decide it, and the New York bred Day at the Spa won it in her very first attempt beyond a mile and an eighth. Champion sprinters, relatively weak categories here in my opinion. There were numerous regional grade 1 sprint stakes that were pretty weak, so the Breeders' Cup, in my mind, played a huge role in who I voted for. My vote for champion male sprinter went to the Breeders' Cup Sprint winner Work All Week, who defeated a very strong field. Remember, folks, the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th place finishers in the Breeders' Cup Sprint came back to run 1, 2, 3 in the Cigar Mile. Work All Week went 5 for 6 with a second. Judy the Beauty, the winner of the Filly and Mare Sprint, got my vote for champion female sprinter. She went 4 for 5. Although I didn't think she was the most talented female sprinter of 2014, I thought Midnight Lucky was, but she ran only once, and I cannot vote for a champion off just one race. All right, Horse of the Year, the big one. The main contenders in my mind were going to be Main Sequence and whoever won the 3-year-old male, whoever I voted for champion 3-year-old male. Because, folks, let's be realistic and logical about this. You can't vote for somebody for Horse of the Year if you didn't vote for them in their own category. I mean, I gave California Chrome the edge over Bayern as the best 3-year-old male, so how could I possibly include Bayern, for my Horse of the Year thought? So for me, it came down to California Chrome and Main Sequence. It was a tough choice for me. In the end, I gave the edge to California Chrome. Even though he didn't defeat older horses, that wasn't critical this year because the older horse division wasn't much and the 3-year-olds were so strong. Main Sequence only ran 4 times, and in the end, it was too difficult for me to give a Horse of the Year title to a horse who ran only 4 times. So California Chrome got my vote for Horse of the Year. The 2 human categories that people are interested in, trainer and jockey, it came down to 4 trainers for me: Todd Pletcher, Bob Baffert, Chad Brown, and Art Sherman. Art was different from the other 3 in the respect that if you vote for Art Sherman, it was done strictly on the great job he did with California Chrome. For the jocks, it came down to Javier Castellano, Johnny Velasquez, Joel Rosario, and Victor Espinoza. In the end, my votes went to Chad Brown and Javier Castellano. The 3 victories on Breeders' Cup Day put Chad over the top. So there is a look at my Breeders' Cup ballot. Next week, the finalists will be announced. In 2 weeks, the winners will be announced at Gulfstream Park. All right, time to wrap things up. Time to thank all the folks who helped get this week's show, the first show of the new year, on the air here at the studios at the Clubhouse Racebook in Albany. Our associate producer, Julie Hoxie, as well as Dan Hayes. Back in the control room in Schenectady, Pat Peretta directed and handled pre-production, Pete Persico on audio. Thanks to our guests this morning, John Servis and John Terranova, and thanks to our sponsor, Gulfstream Park. Gulfstream Park champions start here. And as always, thank you so very much for having joined us on Down the Stretch. Enjoy all the racing action from coast to coast this weekend here at Capitol. Have a wonderful upcoming week. And from all of us here at Down the Stretch, we'll see you next week.
You're watching OTB TV, a service of Capital Off Track Betting.